Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we get to sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players and related music industry experts. If you love playing guitar, stick around. You're in the right place. Hey everybody, this is Craig Garber with Everyone Loves Guitar, and today we're going to show some love to the rhythm section. I have a really cool bass guitar player, Chas Covington. Chas is actually from Tennessee, but he's based in Nashville now, and he's had the opportunity to perform with a wide variety of artists all over the Nashville music scene. He's performed all over the States as well as internationally, and he continues working both in live and studio environments. Some of the people he's played for right now is current on tour with Trent Harmon, who's a Big Machine recording artist and American Idol winner from season 15. He's played with Cole Swindell, Goodbye June, Steve Moakler, Dean Alexander, Logan Brill, and he's open for loads of country artists like Thomas Rhett, Florida Georgia Line, Lady Antebellum, Jake Owen, John Party, Brothers Osborne, Dan and Shay, Gary Allen, Dwight Yoakam, Billy Currington, Vince Gill, Marty Stewart, Charlie Daniels Band. So he's not sitting at home too much. And he's also played at the Grand Ole Opry, Stagecoach Festival, Faster Horses Festival, the Patriotic Festival, CMA Fest, which is probably cool, Fox and Friends Morning Show, and Nashville Meets London Music Festival. Chas Covington, man, thanks so much for coming on the show. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Greg.
Awesome. Yeah, my pleasure. Man, you're a young guy, and this roster is pretty big. That's really awesome. I'm excited about that, and I'm sure you are. No?
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. I'm honored to have had all those opportunities. So let's see. Just keep on trucking.
That's it, man. Make hay while the sun's shining.
That's it.
What are you working on now that you're most excited about?
Man, I guess that the Trent Harmon thing's taken up most of my time right now, and just been traveling a lot, doing a lot of fairs and festivals with him, and it's been really exciting getting on the road with those guys, and we got a good group, so that really helps.
How did you get hooked up with him? Like, how do you connect the dots? How did that come about?
Yeah, man. I guess from other auditions and meeting people, kind of. Someone had my email, and I just got a random email about an audition for some guy named Trent Harmon, who I didn't know. I hadn't watched American Idol at all. And so I didn't really think anything about it. And then I finally responded to it and realized what was going on. So I went and did the audition, and it just kind of all fell into place, man. I don't know.
I always like to hear the backstory because it's always not from what the artist, the musician expected. It always comes out of a buddy knew a buddy, or here you got an email, you didn't even know what the hell it was,
Yeah.
So I'm looking at Trent's touring schedule right now, and it looks like you're going up to Illinois in a couple of days, no?
Yeah, on Saturday, yeah.
And then
Mattoon, I think.
Yeah, Mattoon Township, Illinois, then Jackson, Minnesota, back to Nashville, Chicago, Las Vegas. Man, that's awesome. Very cool places.
Yeah, thanks, man. I'm excited for them.
Well, I mean, I don't know Mattoon Township, but I know, obviously.
It's pretty small from what I understand.
Yeah, but Chicago, Vegas, San Bernardino, Santa Rosa, Huntington, those are all pretty major places, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be a fun run.
Very cool. Where are you originally from, and where'd you grow up?
So I grew up in Cleveland, Tennessee, which is southeast Tennessee, right outside Chattanooga.
Awesome. And brothers and sisters?
It's just me, man. Just me.
You. And what kind of childhood did you have? Like, what did you spend your time doing there?
Oh, man. I guess, it's pretty normal. I don't know. Just growing up, my grandparents had like a farm, and growing up out there, that was always fun to go out there. My dad was a musician, so always been around music, and just grew up listening to my dad playing and listening to his music and stuff. So.
Your dad was a full-time musician?
No. He played, I guess, for fun, more as a hobbyist. He had a day job. I think he would have liked to have done more, but he's a great drummer. He's a drummer, and so I've just always been around it. I can't remember not being around it.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So your earliest exposure to music, I guess, was from your dad in the house.
Yeah, definitely. Or I remember I have vivid memories of listening to his band rehearse when I was a kid, hanging out in the garage where they would rehearse and stuff. And that was I guess one of those things that you don't really necessarily remember or realize what a big impact it has, until later on.
So let's talk about that. How did you go from listening to your dad's band in the garage to saying, "Hey, I want to play an instrument myself"? And what was the genesis of that from there to where you are now?
Yeah, man, it's such a wild ride, I started taking piano lessons. I guess my parents probably facilitated that when I was young. I did that for a little bit and then quit to pursue my basketball career, which was really a shame. I should have just stayed with piano.
Are you tall? I can't. Are you a big guy?
No. I'm like 5'11". I'm not no tall guy, no basketball player.
Yeah. I hear you. It's hard to be a basketball player when you're 5'11".
Yeah. But yeah. So I don't know, man. I started playing piano. Then I guess in middle school, joined the band, played trombone, and then I saw my dad's band. Watching them play. And I remember when I was probably 11 or 12. Realizing that there was a difference in the guitars, like the bass guitar and the regular guitar. And I realized it's like, man, the bass player, the guy that played in my dad's band, always danced and just had a good time on stage. I remember thinking, I want to do that. I want to play bass.
Very cool.
So, yeah.
So you went from piano. Now, when you took piano lessons, was that something that you wanted to do, or you just said, "Hey, I'd like to do something with music," and your parents said, "Okay, let's try you on piano"? I
don't really know. I guess I was in like third grade or so. So I don't even know how old would that be? 8 or 9 years old.
Yeah, I think 9.
So I don't even remember how it started or if it was something that I wanted to do. I'm sure it was something that they said, "Hey, why don't you take piano lessons? Because this is a good place to start in music." So I'm sure I was like, okay, cool. But yeah, I don't quite remember exactly how that went down.
Do you still play piano, or can you still play piano? Oh, you don't?
I don't. I would never hire myself to play piano.
But I mean,
can move around a little, but not enough to be a real piano player.
Did that help you in any way, as far as understanding chords and structure and stuff like that?
Definitely, man. Yeah. I feel like I could still learn a lot more from it. I don't want anyone to have the impression that I played piano. I'm not a piano player, but there's a lot to learn. I think it's a great instrument to start on, and it just facilitates every other kind of instrument,
Yeah, I think I agree with you there, because it's so comprehensive, and there's so many different skill sets that are inherent to piano. I mean, just like playing chords together, playing solo notes. And
you get a real big picture of it, yeah.
Yes, and having the visual is I think an aid to that, Mm-hmm. Even like on guitar, and you play chords, you play notes, but you're not sitting and looking at it. So I think that there's some connections that you could probably make in a piano with relationships that you don't get to make in other instruments.
Oh, definitely, yeah, definitely.
So you're playing bass guitar, you're grooving, let me ask you this. So when you started playing bass, man, did you dance, and do you dance now?
Man, I like to get into it.
Cool.
I try to have a fun time. That's what I'm there to do, and so I don't know. I try not to get too wild, but every once in a while, get caught up a little bit.
That's awesome, man. That's fantastic. Okay, so you're in high school. You're playing music. I'm sure you're in some bands, right?
Oh yeah. Just playing with friends in bands in high school. That was what happened. That was just a thing to do. So.
And what was the transition like when you said, I think I want to stick with this and do this professionally?
Yeah, so I was playing, I guess, in this little rock and roll band and traveling in a 15-passenger van, not making any money. And I don't know what happened, but I woke up one day and realized that I kind of wanted to take music a little more seriously. And I decided to go to school for music. And I guess that was kind of the thing that really started the ball rolling on just doing it full time, or whatever you want to call it.
So when you made the commitment to going to Belmont, it wasn't just a commitment to going to Belmont. It was a commitment to, this is what I want to do.
Yeah, I knew I wanted to play, and that's about all I really knew. I didn't know anyone here in Nashville or how to do it. So I don't know. I guess Belmont was a great place for me to come and kind of get my feet wet and meet people who were wanting to do the same thing I was wanting to do. And it was a great foot in the door into Nashville.
Well, yeah, and I think that's in general, to make a commitment to a career when you're that young, I think that's rare.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, nobody. I mean, I don't know too many people like in business who say, "Oh yeah, I knew when I was going to college that I wanted to do X." You know.
Yeah.
So I think that, you know, because music is such a passion-driven, you know, emotionally driven thing. I mean, people that are into music, it's not just something you do. It's like, you know, a part of you. It's who you are.
Definitely, yeah.
And it's actually critical to your life. Like I often think, you know, I can't remember a day since I was like probably 5 that I haven't listened to music, and I don't know, you know, if I ever got stuck on a desert island, man, that would be, you know, besides my wife, that would be the thing that would be like, oh my God, not having music would be, you know, it's like not breathing in a sense, you know. So definitely,
man. Yeah, there's a lot of passion to it. I think that's why we get into the business in the first place. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just a hobbyist, you know, and I know me, if I play every night, it's almost like therapy, because if it's just a way to, you know, express myself and just, you know, work shit out almost, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Kind of weird, but okay, so you're going down this path, you graduate Belmont, and I'm sure you're like every other person, like, okay, now what's next?
Yeah.
And it's almost like raising a child. I mean, there's no book you can, you know, you didn't get a refresher course on like how to do it. So at what point in time, you know, how did it work when you got out of school, like as far as getting gigs? And at what point in time did you sort of say to yourself, was there like a holy shit moment that, man, this is actually happening and I'm able to do this?
Oh man, there's a lot of little holy shit moments.
Very fair.
Yeah. Followed by a lot of opposite holy shit moments, like
like holy shit.
I don't know. I think it's a roller coaster ride, man. It's something there's those moments that usually for me it's like when I'm playing on stage or there's like a really good gig or something. And I remember early on having a few of those. I remember being at like the Arkansas State Fair or something playing, and it was like it was one of the first gigs I've ever had from Nashville, like going out somewhere else to play. And I remember just thinking, like, this is it. Like, this is what I want to do. And I don't know. But then there's a lot of low points between those high points, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think that's normal in any entrepreneur, because you're basically an entrepreneur, except your business is music. And I think that's pretty consistent for every entrepreneur. What were some of your lower moments that you're okay sharing?
Oh, man. That's some vulnerable stuff right there. I think, I guess starting out, you're playing a lot of these gigs that you don't necessarily want to do, but you kind of have to do to meet people and get out there and just start playing, because that's how else you're going to start playing other than just get out there and do it. Mm-hmm. So I guess some of those gigs can be pretty grueling, like when you're playing at a pizza joint where no one cares or they'd rather you not be there. And you're like in the corner playing like covers that you don't want to hear, no one wants to hear. When you played Wagon Wheel for 15 times, you know, it's just those are the moments where it's like, oh man. But I think there's a lot you can take from that that's good too. Like those are pivotal growing points as well. So.
That's thanks for sharing that, man. I could totally understand what you're saying. Yeah, that it I would imagine when you're sitting there in that pizza shop playing, it makes you got to be really strong, because it casts doubt. It's easy in a situation like that to cast some doubt on what the hell's going on.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. My philosophy behind it, man, I just try to stay grateful. Yeah. And because at the end of the day, I'm waking up and I'm getting to go play music and make a living doing that. And I just try to be grateful for that and thankful for the universe or whatever, you know. So yeah.
Well, too, I guess like it's if you have the discipline to say, okay, this is just part of the path. You know. Now, if you're still playing in a pizza shop in a year, that's problematic.
Right.
That's not what happened with you. So since you're seeing like even if it's baby steps, in your mind, if you're seeing moving forward, that's the whole thing that makes, kind of accepting what it is at any given time probably a little easier, no?
Definitely. Yeah. I think it's that you're kind of, it's a long game, you're playing a long game, and
absolutely
it can be easy to get caught up in those short-sighted moments without I think what helps me is I take a step back and look like, oh, let's look back a year or 2 years or whatever and see what's happened since then. And that's the moments where you kind of really get a better perspective of what's going on. So.
Yeah, I think there's some good, very wise words in it. It's a long game, and you take a look back at everything, and then you're able to see that progression.
Mm-hmm.
What was some of the surprises you discovered about being a professional musician, that things you wouldn't have expected?
Well, I guess the first thing that I was kind of taken back by was I just grew up playing in bands, so I was just like, man, if you're a musician, you're just in a band, and then you become a rock star, and then you take over the world or something.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got to Nashville, I kind of found out that it works a little differently than that, and you're kind of interchangeable musicians playing for artists, and it's just a lot more fluid than I had pictured in my head, I guess. So that was a big thing, realizing, oh wait, I can play for more than just one band, or I can really kind of stretch out and do other things that I may have not thought about doing before. So.
Interesting. So in other words, the diversity and the amount of use that the different uses that you could apply your skill set and talent to.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Very cool. What have you learned most? What has your business and your career taught you about yourself so far? Like, what's some of the meaningful lessons or things you learned about yourself?
Oh man.
This is some deep shit here, man. We're not talking. We don't talk about the fish on the wall on these interviews, man.
Yeah, I love it. Seriously. The stuff that say it again for me real quick.
Okay, so what has your business taught you about yourself? Like, what's in going through this process, what things have you learned about yourself that have been important to you, good, bad, or ugly? Just
Sure.
things that, like, hey, this is good to learn this, and I because I know, like myself, I've learned over the course of my business career that certain things I'll learn about myself that, like, I'm happy that I'm this way, or in some cases even I'm glad I had this characteristics, but other cases I'm like, man, I really need to improve more in this area because it's a weakness of mine, and I got to focus on that.
Yeah. I think maybe just you learn a lot about yourself, I guess, through dealing with other people. And I feel like that's 99% of the music business. So I think I'm kind of like a very reserved, like, I'm not going to start a lot of conflict or anything. I just want to, like, make everyone happy, play some bass, and get along. I think that's a great thing in some aspects, and it can be. But I think finding your voice and taking care of yourself, those are the things that I've really had to learn, because no one else is going to take care of you. Like, you got to take care of yourself. And that's something that I think is really important in such a, I don't know if you want to call it competitive or not, but
yeah,
competitive business.
Competitive is a very fair word. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I've talked to other musicians, and that some of them have identified that exact thing of, I've learned that I got to take care of myself, because if I don't do it, I'm not going to, when I go into a negotiation or a meeting, if I'm going to sit there and rely on the other guy across the end of the table to pay me X, it ain't going to happen.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely not. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to get paid. You got to make sure you get paid. You got to do your thing. So.
Absolutely. Because, the reality of life is that most people are going to want the most for the least amount of money. And they'll pay more, but only if they're pushed to task.
That's it. And I think a lot of that, you come in and you learn a lot about yourself and kind of figure out your voice and your personality, and you learn how you deal with people. And I think that's something that can really benefits you in the long run.
Yeah, and this is where I said, Chaz and I were talking earlier. This is where I have just a ton of respect for you and for a lot of the guys I've interviewed, because that's a lesson that most people aren't able to, verbalize and understand about life until much later. So like I said earlier, my hat's off to you, because that's a really, I think that's a huge leap to learn that. People don't learn that for years and years. Are you naturally a shy person, or are you like super outgoing?
Dude, I'm definitely on the shy the spectrum. Yeah. I don't know if that's a bass player thing, or I don't know, but yeah.
Oh, I think it's interesting. I've met a lot of people over my career in all different occupations, and sometimes a lot of people will use their business as like an alter ego, because they are painfully shy. Some people I've met, and their business character is not really them. It's like that's where they, in their natural setting, they're quiet and shy, but when they step into business mode, they're outgoing.
I think that's it, man. I think that comes from me the most on stage, when you get to step out and kind of perform for people. And I think that's maybe why I love it so much, because I get to be something else, something a little different. So,
well, you get to step out without feeling judged and without worrying about it, man. And what a liberating feeling that is. Yeah,
absolutely.
I totally get that. Let's switch over to playing bass now. Who are some of your biggest influences, bass guitar wise? And has this changed over the years since your early influences of classic rock and funk to country now, or not?
Yeah, man, I guess like we talked about before, Sam, talking about Motown and stuff. So like James Jamerson, yeah, like that's all that stuff. That's what I grew up with. That was my dad's music, so that was definitely an early influence on me playing bass. And I think as I'm getting older, I guess it's become, I find influences on from people who aren't necessarily bass players, and even just kind of people you play with on a regular basis. I think those are the things that really shape me more as a player, is kind of like getting to play with other people and finding how you fit with them, and different voices speaking different ways. So I think that's something that can really influence your playing and you not even know it.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, I guess you're saying is as you're playing more, you're coming into your own as a player. So
absolutely,
yeah, that makes total sense. So your voice, and in playing with others, that's how you get to grow as a musician yourself, and expand that voice and see where you want it to take you.
Definitely, man. Yeah, you articulated that way better than I could. But that's yeah.
I just got a couple of years on you, man. That's it. So I'm looking at your website here. By the way, Chaz got a really cool website, everybody. It's Chas Covington, ChasCovington. And by the way, Chaz is such a cool freaking name. I can't believe you come from Cleveland, Tennessee. Did your parents get that from like Jimi Hendrix manager Chaz Chandler?
No. So my full name is Charles.
Okay.
But Chaz came from Charles. But I wish I should start saying that it came from Jimi.
Yeah, man. Let's just take credit. I don't even want credit for it. Go ahead.
That's great, man.
It's a good story to share with women.
Right.
And my
name is Jimi Hendrix.
And I had to find my destiny, but somehow I knew.
That's perfect, man. That's perfect.
So I'm looking at your webpage. You got some really cool photos, and it looks like you're a bit of a gearhead because there's like a bunch of different basses you're playing.
Oh, I guess, man. Yeah. I guess so. You called me. Yeah.
So this is what the audience loves, because everybody listening to this is a gearhead. How many basses do you have?
Right now, I think there are 7.
Holy smokes!
7.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I don't really. There's about 4 that I play out most of the time. Mm-hmm. But yeah, right now I think the roster's at 7.
Awesome. So I spoke to now I'm having a brain fart. Senior moment, Christian, and Chris Sancho, and he was explaining like he's got a number of basses, but some of the reasons that he has them is because he's got alternative tunings
Yeah.
Are you in the same? Do you have some of them for the same purpose?
A little bit, not to the extent that Chris does. Chris plays in a lot of different tunings. Like I know he tunes down like a minor third and whole steps and does a bunch of cool stuff. I don't know if I'm just a little more simple-minded, I guess. I don't know.
No,
go ahead.
No, I said I'm totally with you. I know all that stuff is too complicated for me.
Yeah, right. I've got most of my stuff is standard, down a half step, and then I've got one bass it's a P bass, a precision bass, 4-string, but it's strung B, E, A, D, so it's like a 5-string without the high G, and I really enjoy playing that one. That's been a fun journey on that instrument.
So let me ask you a question. You probably, or you might be in a good position to answer this. You mentioned down tuning. You said half a step or whole step?
A half step is what that's that Trent gig. I play down a half step on it, and that's.
So if you go back, like, so I'm probably your dad's age, and I listened to a lot of the same music he did, and I still listen to that music, and much of the music from the 70s in particular. And then even some of the other, like Stevie Ray Vaughan did this a lot. They all tune down a half or a whole step.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'll be, riffing on something that's in E, and it's on freaking, it's E flat or D sharp, which is like an awkward key to solo in. Why was that done so frequently, and why isn't it done as much now?
Man, that's a great question. I don't know if I have the full and correct answer, but there's something to me. I don't know. I feel like the guitar feels better, like down a half step. There's just something to it.
Interesting.
And maybe I don't know if there's some technical things behind that. But it makes it easy to play in maybe keys that aren't as accessible in the standard tuning thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I really don't know. But you find it a lot in rock and roll. That rock stuff has I don't know. I think it's just something with the guitar being lower gives it a little bit more boom and body or something. But I don't know. I like it. It feels good to play. So
that's the answer I keep reading, because I've tried to get some research on this, and everybody pretty much, you read interviews with people, Gary Moore. I don't know if you ever heard of a guy named Tommy Bolin. He was a guitarist.
Yeah.
Even some of the, like, who Ike Turner is, like Ike and Tina Turner.
Oh yeah, of course.
So Ike had some albums out, and he's got a couple of great songs. I like to jam to him, and I'm freaking playing in E flat. So a lot and I've read all these interviews, and they basically said the same thing. The guitar just feels and sounds better.
Yeah, there's some kind of magic, something going on. Yeah. I agree.
Interesting. Do you practice still?
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely.
Okay, so let me ask you this. I find that when I'm practicing, there's like 3 kinds of practices. One where I'm playing so well, I don't even know how it's happening. Like the transition from yesterday to today, it's almost like someone else came in my body and played the guitar. It's doing so well. Then you have like the average practice where, you sound okay and you make some improvements, and it's an average practice. And then you have the other practice where, like, man, something that, like a scale, you can't even get that out right.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have similar, does it work the same way for you, that you have those 3 experiences day to day?
Yeah, definitely, man. I think you could have them all in the same day. It's one of it's one of those things that's kind of like out of your control, I think. But yeah, sometimes you get in there and you're feeling great. I'd say most of the time it's not just easy, perfect, especially like if I'm learning stuff or like working on new music, things I have to learn. There's a lot of grinding it out on that. But yeah, I think you get those relaxed moments where you're playing stuff or things you're really comfortable with, and that's where it's like that break or that relief to keep you going in the right direction, keep practicing, keep going. So.
Yeah, for sure. Well, so let me ask you this: when you have a crappy practice where nothing's working, what do you do? Do you just like stop, or do you grind through it, or do you say, let me, change gears? Or
so my practice thing, I don't know if it just works for me. But I like to do short intervals. So like I'm not gonna sit down and play for like 6 hours.
Okay.
But I'll sit down and try and be as focused as possible for 15 minutes.
Okay.
And work through something. And if something's not going well, I just got to get up, take a break, go do something else. And I feel like I retain a lot more that way than just pushing myself through something. Sure. And maybe, I don't know if that's just a personal thing. That's just what works best for me.
Well, obviously it's working, so it's great, you know.
Well, thanks.
I mean, you know, you don't have a playlist of stuff you're doing if it's not working, so that obviously is working. I think practicing's like an individual thing. Some people want to grind it out, and some people want to sit and play for 15, 20 minutes and come back. I don't think there's a right or wrong. You can sit and listen to some academics, and I'm sure they'll have some, you know, reason that's totally based in everything but reality. Well, I mean, you know, like academics in general are very like, you know,
it's a separate mindset kind of from this musical thing. And so to combine those two, it's this weird bridge, I think. Yeah. Yeah.
They think in terms of black and white, and that's not how the world works, especially when you're talking about something like music. I mean, my God, it's anything but black and white.
Sure. Yeah.
Sure. A C chord's a C chord, but the application of that is not black and white, you know?
Exactly.
So, how did you find switching over to country from growing up listening to, you know, Motown, funk, and classic rock?
Yeah.
What was the transition like?
Man, it's kind of just out of necessity. I don't know. I was so I didn't grow up with country at all. Like never ever listened to it. And then I got to Nashville, and there's something about moving to Nashville. I think country music just kind of is in the air here or something. And I remember thinking, I was in school, and I remember thinking, it's like, if I want to really play music here in Nashville, I'm going to have to like start listening to country music. So I started listening to the country music on the radio in my car, and I don't know, there's something about it, man. I just I appreciate it now. I get it. I can enjoy it really. So.
Do you ever have a chance to get down and get funky, like to just cut loose with some guys?
Yeah, man, definitely. I think you can find moments in country. The word country now means so much.
Yes.
Like there's everything from hip hop country to traditional country, all this, you know, all these genres that have just melded into this country mold. So I think there's avenues to find whatever you're looking for in the Nashville industry. So.
It's an unfair question because you haven't been doing this 10, 20, 30 years, but if you didn't go down this path, what would you have been doing instead? If for some reason, like, was there ever in the back of your mind, well, if this doesn't work out, I'll be an X, you know, I'll be a carpenter, an accountant or something like that?
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. There was, I don't know. That's seems awesome. Like a weird answer, but
no, it's awesome.
I don't know. I never had any ambition to do anything else, man. I guess I probably could have landed somewhere else doing something, but I don't know. I didn't really pursue it, so I don't know.
Awesome. No, man, it's a fair answer. I appreciate it. Do you have any hobbies or interests outside of music?
You know, I don't have like a ton of like really cool hobbies. Music takes up a lot of space, but I like being outside. I like to run.
Cool.
Big runner. And so I think that's like running's kind of like my break from everything, and it's like therapy and turn your brain off for a minute and just go. So
that's great because that's an activity you can do when you're on the road as well, which is awesome with very little stress.
I love running on the road, finding new places and stuff. Yeah.
What's your favorite place you've traveled so far?
Man, I tell you what, Europe, going to London last year was really cool. That was probably my coolest gigging experience traveling wise. Yeah.
My wife's from England. What did you like most about it?
Oh man, that's awesome. It's just such a cool place, man. It's so old. You know, we have things over here that are the old places in America are a couple hundred years old, and over there, this castle is from like 1200, and
right.
It's like just like beautiful architecture, just a different environment. It's really cool. It's really neat. So.
Yeah, man. My wife's from a little small town, and like the church, it was like Church of England, the church where she was baptized or christened in is like from the 400.
It's insane. Yeah.
And it's just down the road from our house.
It's been there for forever, man.
Yeah, it is very very old. Where else did you go over in Europe?
We just went to London. We had like 4 or 5 days in London. We did one show, and so we got time to kind of see the sights and then play, and then went home. Yeah,
the thing about England is it seems like it should be like America because they speak the same language, but then when you get there, you realize they don't really speak the same language, and it's nothing like America.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's how I felt about it anyway. Who's the most important person in your life? Who's been the biggest influence on you so far?
Oh man, I guess I have to say both my parents. Really, my mom and my dad. Like I couldn't do anything without them being so supportive. Like they've always allowed me to pursue the things that I'm interested in, and always been there to support that. And I'm so grateful that I don't feel like I'm letting them down, or that they've just always been super great and always loving and supporting whatever I'm doing. Yeah.
That's really nice to hear. What did they do? Like, what did your dad do for a living?
My dad worked for Maytag or Whirlpool for a long time, and he's kind of semi-retired now. And my mom is a teacher for 30 some odd years. She's still working.
That's nice, man. That's good. Really good. I'm glad to hear that. Anything you're currently trying to improve on? Could be musically, personal, business, or anything else?
Man, I guess just keeping on playing, making time to be more creative with playing. I think that's something that I really want to work on more, is being more creative instead. Like I think a lot of what I get to do is learning parts or learning songs, but I think it's important to make time to be creative and kind of foster that a little bit, like work on that stuff. So whether it's through bass lines or just playing music or getting better at piano or whatever it is, you know.
Let me ask you this. You're currently touring. Where do you see, like, do you want to stay as a touring musician, or do you want to move more into the studio? Or, you know, I guess it's hard to say now, but like, do you have any kind of a vision as to where you'd like to see things going and what you'd like to be doing 5 years from now, maybe?
Yeah, man. I mean, see, 5 years, hopefully I'm still on the road in 5 years, at least some, but I really like traveling. I love playing live. It's awesome. I love the performing side of it. It's really, really good. But I love the studio stuff too. It's just, they're such separate worlds, kind of. It's a whole different game in the studio than it is on stage. And so yeah, I definitely want to branch out more into doing some more studio stuff. And maybe down the road in the future, you know, have more of a stable income without having to travel as much. That'd be kind of like the cool long-term goal.
Yeah, I could imagine it. Touring is a young man's game, I would imagine.
Exactly. And I love it, man. And it's good for now, and I'll keep doing it, but not forever, you know?
Yeah. Well, it'd be tough. Especially if you don't have a family or something like that. It's probably going to be challenging. Okay. Hey, before we go, I'm just going to ask you, do you have any cool touring stories from touring, or debauchery, or anything, you know, man, interesting?
Yeah, I better not name names,
though. No. Keep yeah, don't name names.
Man, I'm trying to think. Let's see. There's so many. All right. Let's see. So this is a couple years ago.
Keep it like, don't go to X rating. Keep it like
within
the R.
No.
Keep it within the R.
R? Okay, we can do R.
Most, yeah. R rating is totally acceptable.
Okay. So I'm thinking we're going into New York City. We're in like one of those Sprinter type vans.
What kind of vans?
Sprinter. They're called Sprinter vans. It's just like a 15 passenger van with like a high top.
Oh, Sprinter van. Sorry, at least it's Sprinter band. I'm like, man, I'm out of touch with these young kids. I don't even know what the hell a Sprinter van is. Okay, yeah, so you're in a Sprinter van.
We're going into New York City, going like through the tunnel or whatever. You got to go through
the Lincoln Tunnel.
This giant funnel.
Yeah,
and
the
it
Lincoln
just
Tunnel.
a parking lot. So we're in this van. We've been on the road all day. We're like trying to get to the gig or whatever. And
you're driving up from Nashville.
Oh yeah.
Holy shit, that's a long ride, man.
Yeah, it's not a short ride for sure. But so we're all in there. Everyone's kind of, you get stir crazy being in the van so long. And
oh my God, yeah.
We're going through, it's this parking lot basically, just of all these cars trying to get through the tunnel. And you go through like they've got those toll booths or whatever they are that get you through, and pull up to the booth, and this lady's like, "Hey, is it just cargo?" And the guy's driving like, "Yeah, it's definitely just cargo because it's a lot cheaper to pay the toll if it's just cargo instead of passenger." So he's like, "Yeah, just us and cargo here," and he pays it, and we drive through, and the lady sees us in the back, all of us just like looking at her through the window, and she's like jumps out of her thing and is banging on the window, "Hey, come back!"
You're kidding
and
me.
we took off down the tunnel, man. That was one of those. Felt like such an outlaw, Wild West or something. But
I cannot believe that a toll collector would be that motivated.
Yeah, that's what I find it very strange, man. Very strange.
I mean, dude, it's not like she's working on commission,
Yeah, that's true. Who knows, man? Who knows? She maybe she's deputy dog over there. She was out to get us. I don't know, but we had a good time. We like to have a good time on the road. So,
how long did you stay in New York for?
Oh man, I don't even remember. Probably a day, if that.
So
usually it's not a lot of time in a single place. So
wow, that's a long way to drive for a day.
Yeah.
Wow. New York ain't Cleveland, is it?
Say that again.
I said New York is not like Cleveland, Tennessee, is it?
No, man. No, I drove into New York one time pretty quick after we got into the city. I was like, I can't do this. I can't drive here, man.
I could see that. It's a different. It's a different. I grew up there, so I'm used to it. But it's a different. I'll tell you one thing that's funny when you grow up in a place like New York. You're like I feel safer in a place where there's tons of people than in a place where it's like very sparsely populated. Where
Interesting, yeah.
You probably feel the opposite.
Definitely, yeah. I definitely feel the opposite, yeah.
Yeah, like when I live in Tampa, and there's a place about 25 minutes north of here. It's called Masarky Town, and we used to go there like in early May to pick blueberries. There's a guy there where you could pick blueberries. Got all these blueberry bushes and stuff, and on the way to it's really kind of rural, and on the way you have to go through. You're driving your vehicle through Phosphate, like the streets are all phosphate, because phosphate used to be a big product in Florida because it's in the ground. And I'm driving out there, and the kids are in the back, and I turn on my wife and I say, I am scared shit to be here right now because there's nothing around. It's phosphate. I'm thinking of Deliverance in my head, the movie, and I'm like, we break down here, I'm gonna get some freaking hillbilly come out here with a shot. But of course, it's like probably the safest place in the world. And if you did break down, people come out and say, "Oh, you okay? Can I help you? Come on in. Let me get your family something to eat and drink." But it's just your frame of reference and how you grow up. Whereas if I broke down on the Cross Bronx Expressway, I'd be like, "Okay, there's so many people here, nothing's going to happen." Even though that's the place where someone probably come along and carjack your ass.
Yeah, man. I guess it's just what you grew up with. You're most comfortable with.
It's what you're
I wouldn't
used
want to break down in the Bronx for sure.
Yeah, man. No, you wouldn't. That's where I grew up. You wouldn't want to break down there. So, hey, Chas, man, I can't thank you enough. I really appreciate your time and your honesty and your transparency in answering all these questions. And I wish you nothing but, I'd love to maybe have you back in a couple of years, because I know you'll be, that much further ahead if you're open to it. And
yeah, man.
Is there anything you'd like to promote or anything like that?
Man, first of all, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate all your nice words and stuff. It's been a lot of fun. But yeah, I think people can just go to my website. You can find links to everything from there. You can email me on there, whatever you need. And that's about it, man. Yeah,
go to Chas's website. It's Chas Covington, ChasCoving Chas Covington, ChasCovington.com. He's got links to his Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, his bio, his resume. Tons of cool pictures where you can see all his guitar. There's a picture of you and some dude here. I know it's not Keith Urban, but it looks like Keith Urban.
Oh, that's Tyler Slauson.
Yeah, that guy looks. Doesn't he kind of look like a younger Keith Urban? You know the picture.
Yeah, we call him Keith or Craig Wayne Boyd or something. He gets all sorts of stuff about that. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's playing a Les Paul, so I never saw Keith playing a Les Paul. Maybe I'm sure he does.
Right.
Hey, thanks very much for listening. You can sign up to get notified of future episodes on our website at everyonelovesguitar.com. Now go play your guitar and have fun. Till next time, I'm out. Peace. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.